This is the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast, and I'm your host, Trudy Simmons from the Daisy Chain Group, providing platforms for women entrepreneurs to be seen and heard. This platform is for women entrepreneurs that want to hear the real stories of what it takes to be yourself and run a business with all the different hats that you might have to wear. These are the stories of the tenacious, the rebellious, and the resilient women that are working towards the future that they want to build for themselves and their families. Hello and welcome, and thank you so much for being on the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast, which is connected with the Shine On You Crazy Daisy book. This is the wonderful Lisa Gardner from Iris Hill. Lisa, thank you so much for being a part of the book. Tell us about your business.
Thank you so much for having me, Trudy. I am a botanical artist. I am obsessed with watercolour, and I am also a yoga teacher. So I bring watercolour and all the teachings of yoga together to help us celebrate the process of painting in creative workshops.
I love how you write in the book. It's so beautifully written. It's like reading a poem the way that you've written it. But I love the description that you had of your mindfulness 7 years ago was a mind full of mess. So what was your life like back then?
I think it's a weird time because I actually was living what I thought would be my dream career. I was a greetings card designer at the time. And although it had its wonderful aspects, I just found that my creativity wasn't being playful enough. And I was really, because when your dream career and when your dreams and passions become your career, it does change it. That has its own challenges. And I hadn't found the balance. So I was creating and giving all my creativity to somebody else, essentially. And I wasn't making any time for me to create and play and really follow those things that made me passionate. So I just felt like, as I describe in the book, I was supposed to be living this dream career and it didn't feel like it. And I would go into the studio and people would be like, I'm so jealous you get to be here all the time. And I was like, I don't want to be here. And I never want to be in that place again where my passions don't feel passionate. So I was also practicing a lot of yoga at the time. And for me, when I was on the mat, it just made sense that I was just there in the moment. And I realized I was really missing that from other areas of my life and just wanted to really draw that in, excuse the pun, into my creative pursuits. So that's how, watercolor well-being was born, was just through play and experimenting. And as soon as I flipped everything from the final piece, the final work of art, and actually enjoyed the process and was in the moment and practiced my mindfulness rather than a mindful of mess, then everything changed. And actually, weirdly, then my outcomes also became something I was really proud of. So it was just a real learning curve for me.
That's the wonderful thing, is when we as entrepreneurs, as businesswomen, feel like we're in a state of mess, it can be because you don't have the clarity around what you're actually going towards. And sometimes it's only when you come to the other side of it, you can look back and go, that was messy. I now understand that I had to go through all of that, maybe for these reasons. But when you get that feeling of flow, as you described, then it changes the way that you're able to approach your business in every way. You talk about Lela in the book. What does that mean to us? And what does it mean to you?
So the word Lela is Sanskrit, and that is the language that we speak in yoga. And it's one really 2-syllable word, very simple, but it just really resonated with me. It means divine play. So I keep that up everywhere. That's my little mantra for life. And it just rolls off the tongue. And if you say it with meaning, it really comes alive. And I think for me, the word Lela is very special and just reminds me to bring that play, that freedom, that zest into everything that I do, not just my career, but in general, my approach to life, to be more playful.
How do you get that across to other people?
Well, it's quite interesting as I always open my workshops with the word Lela, and people are they often come to workshops wanting this idea of a perfect painting, or that they're going to leave with something. So it's trying to explain that it's what the experience feels like rather than what it looks like. And then we do really quick activities, and we sort of slow drip watercolor into puddles of water, and we use our imaginations. And that's my favorite bit about teaching, actually, is those moments where you literally watch everybody in the room at their own time, when they're ready, to sort of release, relax, and just plop into that flow state where they're suddenly not worried about judgment or the inner critic, or what is that, or you'll never be good at art. And suddenly they're just like, this just feels really good, and it doesn't actually matter if it's a hot mess.
Yeah. I think you should definitely use that on social media. Plop into art.
Yeah, plop into art, it's a hot mess.
Sold. That's brilliant. You also talk about being guided by your own instinctive rhythms. What does that look like in your art?
It is that flow state. It's that magic. It's the magic for me as well, and it's something that gets me really excited and passionate. And I hope that comes across. But finding it within my art, I do my pranayama, which is my breathing meditations, before I get into a big painting session. And then I'll do these really quick experiments where I'll loosen up my body to loosen up my mind. And it's all part of the process to be able to ensure that I can stay healthy in my art career, because I know, myself included, we spend a lot of time as artists all like crouched over. So it's about taking those pauses. So it is a huge part of the process. And when I'm in that flow state, it's just blissful. But being able to be a little bit more mindful in that, and actually know when to stop and to step back and see what you're creating, is a really special sort of, it's such a balance, but it's this really sweet spot within it all, that you can kind of be in the process, be painting, but also be aware of the decisions that you're making. And I think trusting your gut is just so important, but it takes a lot of practice and confidence to do that.
Well, I love that you've combined this movement and art into your business, and it comes across so beautifully in the way that you talk about in the book, and now about your spine, and that feeling of lifting up your spine, and knowing that that movement is going to create the creativity that you need for the art to flow. To me, as an uncreative, and I say that knowing that I'm creative, I know knowing that I'm creative in my own ways, but when I read your chapter, I was mesmerized by, this actually sounds more interesting than I've ever heard it sound before, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I hope so. I love that you've referenced the spine. I always, one of my visualizations is, imagine you've got a paintbrush covered in gold, and you're literally drawing it up the spine from the very base all the way up. And yeah, so you're covering yourself in golden paint, and it just gives you that real lift. And from your heart space, it just helps you sort of glitter out a little bit.
Ooh! Oh, I love glitter. What is one lesson that you would want every entrepreneur to know?
Oh, I think it comes back to the play again. Just please create time to remember why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you passionate about it? Just keep that in your mind every day. Have it written down. Surround yourself with it, because there will be moments when you are challenged and you'll think, why am I doing this? And if you remember that why, but also create time just for fun. I block out at least 3 hours every week, which just says fun. And that can be me with a paintbrush making a mess. It can be me doing some pranayama, it'd be me making some movement, whatever it is, that 3 hours is mine. And it's so important to go back into my business, because without that, it would just become a bit stale and a bit stagnant.
Yeah, you've just reminded me that when I had my corporate career, I decided to take up painting, but me being me, I got some canvas and stuck it outside on the grass, and I was just playing, just drawing all over it with different colored paints. I think I was using the paint that I used to paint the house. So that's how deep it went. I did these lovely little pictures that I was quite pleased with, and I put them in a frame and I put them up on the wall, and somebody came over and said, "Oh, what child did that?" Whoops.
And you will, we've all got those moments, Trudy, absolutely. When you'll be painting a dinosaur as a kid and someone says nice duck and you're like, devastated. It happened recently. I was speaking to somebody and they were like, I was so proud of my painting until my wife came along and said, oh, why have you done that bit? But you just learn. That's all about trusting your gut again. And feedback is good, but it's knowing what to kind of let ping back off you again and what is really meaningful.
I just said it's so subjective.
It is so subjective. Absolutely.
What's your favorite business book?
So my business book is a little bit random. So it's actually, I've got them here. It's the Flower Fairies. I absolutely adore these books because they remind me of the magic of what I do and why I'm passionate. And, at those moments where you get absorbed and flowing through your creativity. And also they remind me to work in the seasons. They're painted in the seasons. So it's to try and work within rhythm of nature as well, which is, again, really important to my business.
I love that. That's a beautiful thing to get people to think about as well. Lisa, this has been a joy. Thank you so much for being a part of the book, for being on the podcast. And I can't wait for people to read and feel that lengthening of their spine as they start reading. I did. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trudy. It's been beautiful to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast. If you've liked what you've seen today, then please make sure that you click the subscribe button to this channel to see more inspiration and motivation as more of these stories keep coming out. And if you want even more, click on the link below this video and go and have a look at the series of books Shine On You Crazy Daisy and get even more inspiration and motivation for you and your business.